You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
"91 Reasons" is going to be 2 years old next month. That's crazy to me to think. Not only did I follow through on starting this project, but that I've maintained it at a reasonably steady clip for going on almost, right on the cusp of 2 years. I think that's fantastic. And I've said this before, it bears repeating, I am completely honored and humbled by the number of listeners we have on the show, the degree to which people are compelled to donate money, items, their time, their set of themselves to the show. I think that's just a testament to humanity, Like I've said this before, I'll say it again, we're all in this together. So knowing what the show means to me and what it means to other people just makes me feel great going on 2 years. I know that Doug and the season pass with Robert, like they've been doing, and Brent, they've been doing it for like forever. And I don't know if I look at them and I go, man, you guys are pioneers. Not only did you start doing it when nobody else was doing it, but you've kept it up for so long, and I think that's great. If I can measure up to only a trifle of what they've done, I'll consider myself a success. And I was just talking with somebody here at the house. We had a couple of Mormon missionary girls this time. I didn't know they had missionary sisters. They were interested in my book, The Sixth Key. They had actually even taken it upon themselves to go to Knott's Berry Farm and try to buy a copy. But they were only up front in the gift shop, which they do have it, but I think you got to ask for it, because last time I was there, they only had the second one on display, which if you're browsing is a great cover by Daniel Miller, but basically tells you on the back, hey, this is book 2. Start at book 1. Where's book 1? It's not here. Well, I can't start. Well, then that ends that conversation. So I gave them each a copy of the book and was basically telling them that the genesis of the book and how having Josie, my daughter, at the tail end, right before publication, not right before publication, but like in the middle of that, transformed the book in a way that I would never have predicted, and how the thing that you're going to find the most joy out of, the thing that's going to fulfill you the most, will be a complete shock to you and an accident in the making. Isn't that that's so weird? Because you're like, I didn't sit down and put this through the old noodle here and try to come up with a lot of reasons or examples. But it's just funny how life ebbs and flows and takes you places. And when I published The Sixth Key, I thought, well, that's it. I've done my thing. I've done my thing in life. If I never do anything else, I've done that. Thank you. There it is. This is my book. I've done it. It's right here. And the podcast was almost accidental. And yet the podcast has brought me, I wouldn't say more joy than the book writing, but certainly a faster return on my investment, so to speak, because it takes forever to write a book. And the reason it takes forever to write a book, and so I'm going to do this podcast. It's Saturday night here in Buena Park. I'm here in the Cafe 80s, and this episode will go up Tuesday. Big, much quicker turnaround. Books are completely different. You don't hate yourself after a podcast. But when I started off in high school, 8th grade, I was 13 years old. There was no middle school where I went. They had defunded the middle school program and sold the property off to private schools. So I found myself, and I've hinted and alluded to a high school series of episodes, and I swear they're coming. But I found myself 4'11", just turned 13, and in high school with basically men. I mean, it's so funny to go to high school and like, that guy's got a mustache. Well, that guy's got a beard. That guy's 6'2", and I look like an Oompa Loompa. And I originally had no plan to get through high school. I was very naive. I, for my elective class, took arts and crafts because, like anybody, like the fact that arts and crafts was completely booked up meant that everybody had the same idea. It looked easy, much easier than what, calligraphy, home ec, typing. I mean, all that sounded crazy. And, you know, spoiler alert, looking back, I took 3 years of typing. It was the most important series of classes I took in high school, next to the one I got transferred to when I got thrown out of arts and crafts. Because, yes, I got thrown out. They decided that the class was too full, and they went from the bottom up. So my last name is Tucker, T-U. I'm right next to, like, Wallace and Williams and Xavier, if that's a last name. So I was the first guy to get thrown out. And I had my choice of home ec or drama, so I went to drama. Total accident. I had done plays in elementary school, and I considered myself a ham, but to take drama, like to do Shakespeare as master thespian, it didn't even occur to me. It sounded like a lot of work. And drama was a lot of work. Drama was not a cakewalk. And I got bitten by the acting and performing bug very quickly. And I started measuring my school year in productions. Oh, we're doing Grease now. What's next? You know, what do I have to look forward to? What's next? And what happened was, as the years went on, and I became bigger and bigger a presence in the drama department, you know, because you have to, it's like any other hierarchy. You have to wait for the seniors to graduate before you can move up. They're never going to let you in. I was not going to be let in. By the time sophomore year rolled around, I was president of the drama club. I know, shocker, right? In a landslide vote of like 12-2. And I was president of Thespian Troop 1600. And the first thing I did, not that the president has any power, but certainly I had paid my dues, and I said, look, we got to stop doing musicals because I can't sing. And I'm not going to have the same opportunities in a musical as I am in a comedy or a drama. And so we did a comedy called Charlie's Aunt. And it was like a turning point. Like, I got to be funny on stage. I got to have dialogue. Because I had been in the musicals, but I'd never gotten to utter any dialogue in them. Because, again, I cannot sing. So, after Charlie's Aunt, I convinced our director, Maggie Regalato, our teacher, to let us try something different. Let's do some one-act plays. We'll do like 3 one-act plays on a night. We'll put them all together. It'll feel like a full production, but it'll give everybody a chance to stretch their acting legs and do something a little different. And I had an ulterior motive. I had decided that I wanted to be a writer, that I wanted to try my hand at crafting an actual story that we could put on the stage. So I had never written a play before. I had certainly seen enough and been in a few that I knew the structure. I knew what, enter and exit and stage left and stage right and all of that meant. So I started off, and the catalyst for, I'm not even sure what the catalyst was. When I look back in my psyche, I like to always, you're looking for that magic moment. This is the reason I am this is because of this. In the movies, it's like, the reason Bruce Wayne fights crime is because his parents were killed. That's the moment. I will become a bat. I will terrorize criminals. That sort of thing. If I had to guess what it was, it's going to sound trite, but I would say that Back to the Future made me want to be a writer. Bob Gale's script for Back to the Future is so good and so well crafted, and everything matters in that script. There's nothing superfluous. Everything counts in large amounts, like Depeche Mode said. And here's the thing: Back to the Future always gets lumped in with this. It's a summer movie with special effects. I think there's like 6. The car goes with Einstein. The car goes with Marty. Marty's hand disappears, and then the car comes back. There's not a lot of special effects shots in it. What is in it is engaging and likable characters in a situation that you truly care about. The only thing that Back to the Future doesn't have is a full story arc with changes for Marty. Everybody around Marty changes. Marty does not change. Marty is the constant. That's why in part 2 and 3, they gave him the mantle of freaking out when people call him chicken. Because then Marty's story arc is he learns to ignore what people are saying about him. But I didn't know all that. That didn't come out until 89 or 90. By the time I was well on my way to writing. But if I could write something even 1,000th as good as Back to the Future, then maybe I could say I was a writer. And when you're in high school, this is going to sound so crazy, because hindsight is 20/20. You're like, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to write plays, and the women are going to flock to me. Like, I'll be golden. And you know what? That never, ever happened. Like, I was dumbfounded because I'll get to it. But I started off writing short stories, because I got the bug. And one of the first stories I ever wrote was, obviously, Bike to the Future, Time Peddlin', which is about a kid who invents a time machine on his bike and goes back in time to prevent the girl of his dreams from falling for the wrong guy. It was terrible. It was contrived. It was a ripoff. But, in 20 pages, I told a whole story. And that gave me the bug. So I tried writing a few longer form stories. So I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget. I wrote something called Death and the Average Man, which is I think it's about 40 pages. It's about a guy who works at a small town, and you're sort of given this insight as to life and death, where an angel and a demon come to town. And this has supposedly gone on since the dawn of time. The demon tries to kill the people, the angel has to save them. And this guy gets caught up in the middle of a war between the angel and the demon. And he ends up having to go to hell and save his son. It's not good. It's terrible. But I kept at it. That's the thing, is writing sucks. When you sit down to write, you are alone. You doubt yourself. You look at the TV and the video games and cable and YouTube, like, not back then, obviously. But there's so many other things to do that are much more exciting and instantly fulfilling than writing. Writing is the worst. It is the hardest thing you can do creatively, and you're probably going to get 0 back on your investment. You know what I mean? Because, people look at a painting and go, it's beautiful. I love that painting. Did you read my story? Yeah, I'm getting to it. Oh, it's 40 pages, Jeff. Oh, never mind. Hey, did you read my story? And the girl's like, no, nerd. I don't know. So I didn't give up, though. The next thing I wrote was an even longer story, and it was a sequel to Friday the 13th. And I'm not sure what on earth caused me to write it, except that at the time, I think I've said before, I was really into Freddy Krueger for a while. Like, Freddy Krueger was like my hero. And I'm not going to write a Freddy Krueger story back in the day, because that would have been way too daunting, because Freddy's too clever. And I'm not that clever. I'm not going to be able to write something that clever. But Jason just hacks people up. I can write that. But what I wrote was, and it's funny because it turned out to be very close to Cabin in the Woods. This is 1986. I wrote Friday the 13th, Stalker's Blood. And it's about a big game hunter who owns a sporting goods store. And he's bagged every major animal you can kill. So he sets his sights on Jason. He's going to kill Jason. But he doesn't know how to find Jason. So he runs a contest in his store and basically handpicks the winner. And the winner turns out to be like a guy and his girlfriend, and then their couple of girls and a couple of guys in a van. And he gives them a cabin at Crystal Lake for the weekend. And then he just spies on them the whole time, waiting for Jason to show up. So just like I knew the formula back then at 14. The formula was, as soon as these kids have sex, Jason shows up and hacks them to bits. Then the hunter goes after them. Goes after Jason. So it was this cat and mouse of one by one the teens are getting killed, and the gimmick to it was that every time Jason showed up to kill a kid, the hunter showed up like 2 minutes too late to kill Jason. And in the end, the hunter blows Jason and both of them up with a hand grenade or something. And the last thing was Jason's body trying to stitch it back together and waiting for, the sequel. But it was interesting, like watching Cabin in the Woods, like, oh, this is kind of close as far as using, horny teenagers as bait. But those two big stories urged me to, I'm going to try this. So when it came time to do those one acts, I went to my teacher and I said, look, can I have the one in the middle? Like, we'll do bookended published plays, but the one in the middle, I'll write. And, God bless her. God bless Maggie Regalado, because she looked at this little kid and said, give it a shot, Tucker, of course. And I sat down, and here's the thing. I thought, I'm going to write a play with a lot of action. That way I don't have to write a lot of dialogue, because I'm no good at writing dialogue. And instead, the first play that I turned in, the first one act that I ever wrote, was called Party Line. And when the lights came up, you saw 3 distinct sections on the stage. And one by one, they would be filled by a guy calling his buddy on the phone. And then the third guy, the line would get tangled into the title of the play, a party line. If you're too young to remember that, party lines were, way back in the day, phone lines would get jumbled, and you'd pick up the phone to make a call, and you'd hear somebody else talking. And you could scream at them, maybe they'd hear you, or sometimes they couldn't, and you just listen to them talk. Like, it was really bizarre. I remember one time picking it up and getting like a woman, I told him, like, oh my God, this woman's talking on the phone. So what ended up happening is I wrote a play with virtually no action. It's 25 pages of dialogue. And it's a guy calling his friend to say that he blew it with his girlfriend and she broke up with him. And then the third guy, this is topical, folks, topical 1987, because by the time we went up on Party Line, it was 87. Topical teen subjects. The third character is informed he's gotten AIDS from a blood transfusion. Because remember, in the 80s, man, AIDS was it. We were all going to die. The education we were given, the rules we were told, you even think of having sex or forget having sex. You go into a hospital, have a blood transfusion, you are going to get AIDS, and brother, you are dead. I mean, that's what we were taught. Before the miracle drugs, before the cocktails that keep people alive, thank God. Look at how many amazingly talented celebrities we lost to AIDS because it took so long to find something to combat it. Like, it was really rough. So I wrote this message play, and this kid at the end is like, you gotta go back to your girlfriend, dude. Tell her you love her because you never know what day is going to be your last. And they're like, we're going to listen to this kid because he's going to die. And I didn't set out to make a message. I just wanted to write like a really good, meaty conversation that wasn't just, what movies do you like, and did you hear the latest Beastie Boys album? Not that there's anything wrong with any of that, but something a little different. And the other two plays we presented that night were Los Venditos and Lone Star. And I just remember the lights coming. Now, I did the play. I was in the play. I was the kid with AIDS, and my two best friends were the other guys. So it was a family affair. But I can just remember the lights coming up, doing the show, and then for the curtain call, just like, my mother was never prouder. Because I'd gone from doing plays, Charlie's Aunt, Grease, West Side Story, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, to this is something that didn't exist until I created it. And I know my mother was so proud, so incredibly proud, and that just made me so happy. And that high, like you chase, like any drug, you chase that high the rest of your life. Like, I did it. I created something. And people who hear that you do something creative, I don't care if you do macrame, scrapbooking, decoupage, floral arrangements, writing, it doesn't matter. What if you do something creative and you have the guts to show somebody your creation? Like, I took time to make this. And they don't marvel at it, and instead they go, well, you must have a lot of free time on your hands. Punch them as hard as you can right in the mouth. I don't have any free time. I have zero free time. What I have, and I've said it before on this show, if you're listening, you're not hearing anything new, what I have is a monkey on my back that says, if you don't create, you will die. And the monkey was there, I didn't see him, and the minute that party line, the lights went down and the audience applauded, the monkey appeared. And the monkey says, hit me again, Sarge. Hit me as hard as you can. And that was the moment. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write something eventually great. What have I? Will I? I don't know. That's for somebody else to judge. The fact is, I continue to write because I have to. Because the monkey is there. It's a good monkey. Creative monkey. Good monkey. The creative people listening know exactly what I'm talking about. Because the monkey whispers to you. When you're sitting down to watch a movie, the monkey goes, You're just wasting your time, man. You could be doing something creative. You're like, come on, monkey, let me watch this movie. No, man, you've seen this movie. You should get up. No! Monkey, I'm going to play Grand Theft Auto. No, you're not. Why? Because that's just playing in somebody else's world. You should be creating your own world. Boy, monkey, you have got good diction for a primate. Well, you should know. You created me. Yeah, I did. Party Line created you. So, I can remember it vividly. Maggie Regalado, the drama teacher, and my good friend Steve Perall, we were going somewhere. I don't remember where we were going. I wish I knew. Not that it matters. But what happened was I fell asleep in the back seat of her car. Her and Steve were in the front seat, and I I nodded off in the back. And through the gossamer haze of sleep, I heard them talking about me. And I heard Maggie say something she had written in the program. Jeff is the first student in 17, 18 years to write a producible play. Because, a lot of people, you try to write something, but to get it from start to finish to production, that's the hard part. The follow-through is the hard part. You can have ideas all day. I got a million ideas that have never come to anything. But the ones that make it are like your children. And she was so proud, and she said, he's doing this at 16. Imagine what he'll do later in life if he continues. And I took that to heart. I really did. So the summer between my junior year and my senior year of high school, I had a job working at the employment office in the back. And on my lunch break, I worked on a play, and I wrote a play. I wrote the biggest monstrosity of a play I could think of. It was a 3-act play called Business as Usual. It was about a couple of brothers who own a mortuary, and they inadvertently bring people back from the dead using a potion they create. It's a farce. It's silly. It's over the top. It had way too many speaking roles. But you know what it did? It made it to the stage, and it gave everybody in the drama club a chance to be in the show. It wasn't just like a cast of 5. It was a cast of like 25. Everybody got to do something, and I ended my senior year on such a high because the opening night of that play, not only was my mom there, with tears running down her face, but the people I had worked with at the employment office showed up to see the play they had watched get written in the lunchroom, which made me incredibly proud. And my GATE teachers. I was in GATE for a while. I don't know if I've even mentioned that. There was a program in school called MGM, Mentally Gifted Minors, which morphed obviously on the schoolyard to Mentally Gifted Morons, which became GATE, Gifted and Talented Education. You had to take a test, an intelligence test to even get in. And I remember like watching a few kids get pulled into GATE. And GATE, you didn't go all the time. You only went like a week every 2 months or something to another school. And I remember telling my mom, like, how come I'm not in that? I think I'm pretty smart. My mother went down to school just like Beverly Goldberg, and said, you're going to test my kid. So they tested me, and I got accepted right away. And the teachers there, it was Miss Fallon and Mr. Grandpré, they showed up at the opening night of my play. Now, I hadn't seen them since 7th grade, and this was 12th grade. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You don't even really give teachers a second thought, right? Unless they're really, really important to you. But what happened was like these ladies had kept tabs on all of their students. And when one of them did something like this, they made sure to show up. And then I started crying. It's not every day that you have a moment like that where there's this big thing you've done, and it's good, and it's right, and it's funny, and it impresses people to the point where they stop what they're doing and they come and tell you, like, hey, that's a good thing what you did. And that's the epitome of we're all in this together, isn't it? Having this moment where this 3-act play, and here's the thing, that 3-act play went through 100 rewrites before it hit the stage. 100 rewrites and 1,000 hours of doubt. It's gonna suck. I can't do it. People are gonna laugh at the wrong things. What are we doing? And the teacher, like Maggie, like pushing me. No, Tucker, we're doing it. You put yourself out there, and we're gonna do it. And that led me out of high school on a high, and said, you're gonna keep going. You're gonna keep plodding away and plinking away at this. And you know what? It gets tough because they don't tell you this. They don't tell you that, like, when high school ends, your life suddenly has zero structure. And you can do whatever you want with your days. I had a job. I was working at the video store and then Blockbuster Video. And you have to know and feel that monkey on your back, or it just goes away. You just become a drone, or you become not even a drone, a consumer. I've never wanted to be a consumer. I've wanted to be a producer, somebody who produces things, who creates things from the thin air. It's not enough to just absorbing. You know me, I absorb everything. I love fandoms. I love wallowing in Star Wars and Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica and the Marvel Universe and blah, 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 and Galaxy Quest and you name it. Wallow in it. You know, wrap it around me like a blanket, like an old friend's blanket, and, you know, make a fort. I make a fort out of it, folks. I take the fandom and I make a fort out of it and I live in it. And that's easy to do because it makes you feel good, it's familiar, and it's not hard. What's hard is pulling yourself away from the very thing that makes you happy and telling yourself, if you work hard on this other thing, it's going to make you happier. And you keep telling the monkey, I'm not doing that. That's work. The monkey goes, you have to. If you don't do this, you're going to go insane. I'm going to keep doing the bongos on your head till you create something. And the years after high school, like directly after high school, I got involved in drama improv group. We're going to do a whole episode with my good friend Jeff Whiteman, one of the funniest guys I've ever known. He's going to come here, and we've been talking about this since nearly day one, but I swear to God it's coming. But I got involved in improv, so I would tell myself, well, there, monkey, here's some improv. We're creating every day an improv class. And then on Fridays, we go to elementary schools, and we create. So here's I'm feeding the monkey these creative tidbits. And the monkey goes, oh, these are good. But these are just appetizers. Well, this is all I got. No, you've got more, Jeff. You're going to hunker down and you're going to do something right with your talent. So, walking into the Cerritos College theatrical department, I was nobody. Nobody. I was less than nobody. I had to worm my way and prove my talents again and again and again. And finally, they opened up to do the one acts. My forte. They're going to do one acts because they're never going to do a big play at that level. Like because they don't know if it's going to make any money. And as much as they're artistes, they're also in the business that the production has to recoup what it costs. So like I remember turning in. The first thing I turned in at the college level was this play called Johnny Handgun, and it was a 2-act, big, expensive play. And the teacher there, the professor, Kevin Hoggard, one of my mentors, he pulled me aside and he goes, Jeff, this is great, but we're never going to do this. I mean, this is insane and expensive. And I said, I know. The monkey said to write this, so I had to write it. Now, Johnny Handgun, you have to understand, this is 1990, folks. Columbine is 9 years in the future. And this play I wrote was about a kid named Johnny who gets bullied at school by the school bully. So Johnny takes a gun to school, and as the bully rises up, Johnny blows him away. And it was a surreal play where adults would play children with like oversized books, like cartoonish pencils to offset the violence. And Act 1 ends with Johnny destroying the bully in front of the class. And the teacher going, well, I guess asking for homework would be pointless at this point. And then in Act 2, Johnny is exonerated because he was bullied. And it sets off a chain reaction in the school where carrying a gun is cool. So everybody has one. And nobody's being bullied because everybody's terrified of getting shot. And Johnny tries to stop this madness. And, of course, Johnny gets shot. And he dies. And then everybody learns a lesson. It was a really bizarre play. I had no ulterior motives in writing it. It was just supposed to be... I wanted to do something that was Tim Burton-ish. And that sounds crazy, right? But Tim Burton-ish. And it was supposed to be Tim Burton-ish in the way like the kids are caricatures. And they've got these big folders and big pencils and book bags. And, maybe when they sit down to eat lunch, it's an apple the size of a basketball, And at that point in society, no one batted an eyelash. It was not seen as like, we should call the police because Jeff's going to shoot the school. So thankfully, it's before the politically correct nonsense took over, and oh my God, it's a red flag, arrest him. Because you know what? That happened in grade school. I wrote I wrote a really short story about Star Wars, but I replaced the teachers with the Empire and the students with the Rebellion, and in the end, they blew up the Death Star, which was the principal, and they called my mom, and they're like, your son needs help. He's talking about killing these teachers. My mom's like, it's Star Wars, you doofuses, it's Star Wars. Your son needs help. And she was like, my son needs nothing but a B, so thank you. But I knew at the college level they weren't going to do that play because it was too big. But what it did was it spurred me to keep going. And what I never realized was I would have really good success at the college level as a writer, but there had to be some subterfuge. So they opened up. They were going to do a night of one acts. They were going to do 4 one acts, and they let students direct them, students cast them, the whole bit. The only thing was the faculty got to pick the plays. Well, I was like, I'm not missing this opportunity. I am going to write a play that we can do. So I wrote this play. Oh, God, it was so crazy. It was called Dance the Skeleton, and it's about a guy. It's the night before his wedding. And his buddies are going to take him out, and they're going to get him laid, and they're going to get him drunk, and it's a big night, and he doesn't want to go. And he's like, I love my bride-to-be. I don't want to do this. And his 2 friends are completely at a loss because they're like, this is our duty as your friends. We have to do this for you. So they decide to pull out the secret weapon, which is they get his high school crush to show up, and she's going to sleep with him. And what the play is it's done. We break the fourth wall again and again and again, and the actors speak directly to the audience, and things are done breaking the fourth wall. And so what happens is that they get these women dressed as skeletons to try to seduce him. They come out of the closet and they dance around, and he's trying to resist them, but it's difficult because he's a guy and he loves his wife. And in the end, the wife gets the script and erases the moment where he's about to cheat, so it never happened. And they know where to get weapons off the prop table, and it's all done completely, almost like the end of Blazing Saddles, where they ride off the West into Warner Brothers Studio. So it was very tongue-in-cheek, very self-aware. I got to play the guy getting married and give this big soliloquy about how men have feelings too. And it was a lot of fun. And it wasn't anything serious. It was just supposed to be silly, and it offended a few people because it was very sexual. I get it. I mean, I was 19, 20. So what do you want from me? That was the main focal point of my life at that point. So it got put in the mix with 3 other plays. One of them was a play called Lemonade Stand, where a guy tries to buy lemonade from this woman, and it's made with her tears, and he ends up paying $10,000. Like, very avant-garde, very well done. It was a good time, but it wasn't in my vein. The other one was about people waiting in line for a concert, and who's in line with who, and some girl sleeps her way to the front, and blah, blah, blah. And then the other one presented that night was called How Sweet the Wind, and it was by a writer named George Friedman. And it was the play that really connected with the audience, and it was the only play anybody was talking about. And it's about a woman who lives in an apartment in New York, and one day her husband goes out to work and has a car wreck and dies, and she doesn't leave her apartment. She's a shut-in. So her friend, which is her dead husband's best friend, tries to entice her to come out and start her life again. It's what he would have wanted, and she's having none of it. So he gets pissed and leaves. And then what happens is the husband shows up as a ghost and tells her that his death was her fault. And you can hear the car wreck on the soundtrack. Like, it's very, very impact. Like, it had a big impact on the audience. Like, you hear this screeching and glass breaking, and he's pointing at her, and he's like, "You let me die." And she's like, "I didn't. All I did was let you go. You let me." So she runs out of the house, and she ends up in Central Park, sitting on a park bench, finishing off a bottle of booze. Like, she's turned to the drink. And in Central Park, she meets a bum. And this bum tells this outlandish story that he's not really a bum. And that the shopping cart that he has full of bottles are really, each one is full of emotions. And he's the guy that goes through the city and dispenses emotions to people. And she's like, "You are so full of it. You're insane." And he goes, I'll prove it to you. I'll open a bottle. So he picks a bottle, and he's like, "Oh, this one's empty." And she's like, "Well, what's in that bottle?" And he goes, "Well, this one was full of joy, but I never have enough of that." And she picks a bottle and opens it, and they start making out, which brought the audience to its feet because he was like made to look dirty, and she was made, I mean, she was prim and proper. All of a sudden, they're completely making out, and he gets the cap back in the bottle, and he goes, "This was a bottle of lust. You got to be very careful with this." So he ends up giving her a bottle of forgiveness, and when the husband shows up, she kisses him. And in the midst of his yelling says, "I have to let you go and you can't bother me anymore." And when the friend shows back up, they end up getting together. It's very sweet. Very, had three scenes, different locales. It was apartment, Central Park, apartment. So 2 scene changes, 3 scenes, which is a lot for a one act. You're asking a lot in the one act. But the audience ate it up. The audience was in tears. My mother had tears running down her face. People were just in awe of the power of this little 29-page, story. And I got to, stand up there on opening night and go, "By the way, I'm George Friedman. George Friedman's the name of my father. I wrote How Sweet the Wind." I submitted under a different name because I knew you'd never let me do half of the roster of the shows. Faculty hated it, but they couldn't deny that How Sweet the Wind was a powerhouse play. I think out of all the plays I've written, that's the one I'm most proud of, just because of what it did to that audience, and subsequently the audiences who saw it the next few nights of the run. Like, it was just powerful. And I wasn't in it. I had nothing to do with it. I wrote the script and I handed it over, and Mary Harris at the time directed it, with Maribeth Mudge as the female lead, and Arthur Cruz, I think, as the bum. I don't remember who played the husband. I don't remember who played... I think her mom shows up on the phone for a second or something. But that was a really good experience. College also, I did another play called A Million Nothings, which it's not a very good play, but it basically asks a what-if question. What if an hour before the Jerry Lewis telethon, they cure muscular dystrophy? So obviously it's not Jerry Lewis, it's some other guy. And right before he's about to go on, they cure his disease. So he's like, "Well, what do I do now? Like, what the hell am I supposed to do now?" It was a really bizarre, dark play. It had some comedy in it. Jeff Whiteman was in it. And it was the first time that at Cerritos, someone had given Jeff a role with meat. And I knew Jeff was a good actor, and they just wouldn't give him a shot. He always played the cop or something. And I was like, "No, Jeff's going to play the agent, a really different, but we're going to go against type." And that was a good experience. I ended my college career by helping to translate a play called Haunted House, which was an old Greek play about, silly. I played a slave who tries to convince everybody in town that the wild noises coming from my master's house are because it's haunted, not because the owner's son is having a big party. Like it's a trifle. It's just a silly play. I had a lot of fun doing it. Rachel got to be in it with me, and I got a writing credit at the college level for translating. I thought that was a lot of fun. I wrote some funny dialogue for it. But I closed out my career in college by doing a play called Stolen Hearts, which ended up being, like, in that chapter of my life, the most solid production I'd written. It was, it just felt like a professional piece of play, of literature. It's about a guy who breaks into an apartment and gets locked in there inadvertently when the woman comes home. Finds out, like, remember, this is 90, I want to say this was 94. Finds out that she has a computer date coming over. So in order to get out of the apartment with his bag of stolen goods, he pretends to be her computer date. And while pretending, he actually falls for her. And when the real date shows up, he has to save the day by pinning the crime on the other guy and getting him out of the picture so he can date her. And it was a comedy of, like, not Three's Company-ish, but you could totally see John Ritter as the lead, if that makes sense. I just felt really solid when I did that show. And I didn't do anything. I just wrote it, and I gave it to somebody to direct and to star in it. And it was a lot. Did I direct it? I might have directed it. But it was a lot of fun. And it ended up a friend of mine doing it at Arizona University. So I have a poster somewhere of Stolen Hearts at Arizona University. And then just recently I dug it up, updated it, and gave it to my friend Robbie with Q11 TV, who may or may not ever film it as a independent short movie. And it just shows, like, closing off that part with Stolen Hearts felt like really great. Like, I'm going to leave knowing I've accomplished something. Between Stolen Hearts and How Sweet the Wind, these are pieces of art that I can be very proud of. Dance the Skeleton was silly. A Million Nothings was a bit over dramatic at the end, but those other two really solid and really kept that monkey at bay. And then what happened was, like any semi-successful playwright, I had a few productions, as I hold up my imaginary cigarette. I had a few productions at the college level. Yes, what are you doing now? Well, now I'm a screenwriter. Oh, really? Yes, I'm a screenwriter. And let me tell you, folks, do you know how hard it is to write a screenplay? It will kill you. A screenplay will kill you. The rules for writing the screenplay, getting it on the page, what it looks like on the page, the story that you tell, the story beats, the action beats, the dramatic beats, like, it's so overly complicated as to be absurd. So, of course, I wrote like a dozen over and over again, all kinds of movies. And, I wanted to make them. I mean, that was the plan, right? To get them sold and made into big movies. So I should backtrack a little and say that my first experience was when I finished Business as Usual in high school. One of my relatives, one of my good friends and relatives, Don Paul, professional actor at the time, still a great actor, he knew people in the business because he had done some things. I'm going to try to get him on the show, see if he's too busy or not too busy. But he actually got a copy of Business as Usual into the hands of Jerome Lawrence. Now, Jerome Lawrence wrote Inherit the Wind and The Night Thoreau's Spent in Jail, and I think he co-wrote Mame. Like, this guy, I mean, if you've ever seen Inherit the Wind, it's amazing. It's about the Scopes monkey trial. Fantastic movie with Spencer Tracy and Frederick March and Gene Kelly. So I actually we drove up to his amazing house in the valley, crammed with books. You know, say what you want, folks. Vases and art is nice, but there's nothing better than walking into a room completely crammed with books. It just makes you feel good. And this guy's house was crammed with books everywhere, and I was like, oh, I could live here. And he sat me down, and he critiqued my play, which for a writer is invaluable. He also offered to let me take his writing class at USC if I ever got to that level. Now, I never got to that level credits-wise, so that didn't pan out. But the critique stuck with me, and the notes that he gave me stuck with me. So I did learn a lot in just the hour or two that I was there. And then what I also learned was, and I'm not placing any blame on Mr. Lawrence at all. I don't know where that script went after he got it, or who had it before him, or yada, yada, yada. But business as usual ended up becoming a movie that I had nothing to do with. And I remember working at the video store, and we used to get trailer tapes in, and we'd watch them. And a lot of times it's just, it's movies you know. Oh, it's the trailer for Dangerous Liaisons. Oh, it's the trailer for, The Abyss. Oh, okay. And then I put this in, and it's a bunch of trailers. And a bunch of movies. This is when we were just starting to see full productions going straight to video. You know what I mean? It's before Disney embraced it with their direct-to-video sequels, because Disney's the one that really proved that you could make a direct-to-video film and make a lot of money. But there were smaller movies, because remember, during the big video boom, 85 to 88, video stores were springing up everywhere. There was simply not enough content, not enough tapes to fill these stores. So any movie that had ever been made was being thrown onto video, and they put new cover art with it, and they would rook people into buying it. And when they ran out of those movies, they just started making really cheap movies and throwing them on video and making a fortune. So the trailer comes on, and it's Frank Gorshin and Vic Tayback in Beverly Hills Body Snatchers. Now, my play is about two brothers who own a mortuary. They bring the dead back to life, and they get in trouble with the law. This is about two brothers, one hip, one not, just like mine, who get a summer job at a mortuary and end up being on the run from the mob. Like, there were so many similarities. I watched the trailer like in awe. Like, first off, it's way too close to be coincidence, and secondly, like, I should really be flattered, because that's my story as a kind of a movie, and it stars the Riddler and Mel from Alice. So, anyways, that was my first foray into watching something get made, even, whether it was stolen, I don't know. Coincidence, I don't know. So when I sat down to write a screenplay, and here's the thing, you start and you stop 100 times before you decide to keep going. There's a million reasons not to keep going. Only one to keep going. The monkey, right? The monkey who goes, you better keep writing. You better keep writing right now. So I decided for my first screenplay that I was going to finish, that I would write the most expensive motion picture ever thought up, ever dreamed up. And if you listen to the show, I love Die Hard. I love Die Hard. And in the 90s, there were a million Die Hard clones. There was Die Hard in a hockey rink with Jean-Claude Van Damme called Sudden Death. There was Die Hard at a phone booth called Phone Booth. How many more Die Hard clones were there? There were so many. Like, everybody wanted to be Die Hard. Die Hard on a plane was Air Force One, that sort of thing. So I decided to write the most expensive Die Hard clone ever. So I wrote Starstruck. Die Hard at the Academy Awards. And it opens with a bank robbery, and we meet the biggest action star in the world. And he thwarts the bank robbery in the silliest of ways, and we freeze frame, and we're watching it in his limo as this actor, which is, basically Arnold Schwarzenegger, goes to the Oscars. Now, his movies have made a lot of money, but nobody takes him seriously because his movies are silly. They're not high art. They're not drama. At the same time, we meet a plucky young girl whose only goal is to get into the Oscars, to meet this guy. So, of course, they're going to meet somehow and get stuck together on this adventure when terrorists take over the Academy Awards and demand $10 million from each of the studios to release their stars, directors, and producers. So it's Die Hard literally at the Oscars. Now, our Arnold Schwarzenegger character, goes to get some fresh air at the wrong time or at the right time and ends up being the only guy who can save the day. And the finale of the movie, the government decides to pay the money. They put all the money in a big truck and they roll it up to the Oscars, knowing that there's no way to get it out of town. There's no way. They don't know how to. There's no way they'll get it out of town. So they think they've got him cornered. And meanwhile, inside, Arnie has battled the bad guy on the stage, and Arnold basically looks at him and says, "You can't win because this auditorium is filled with heroes. I see Ellen Ripley from Alien, and Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible, and all the other." He named every major franchise star in the audience who was also a big hero. So the bad guy, who's this Russian Vladimir Zherkov, he flees, and how they get the money out is, instead of driving it out, they attach it to a helicopter and they fly it through the city. So the helicopter takes off, and the police are in pursuit, and the helicopter is flinging the truck into buildings as it's bang, and then they're flying through the city, and then bang. Now the hero and the little girl are on the truck, of course, right? And they finally get taken out over over the ocean to a ship, where it's revealed, dun dun dun, that the bad guy, the Russian, is a fake. He's an actor. And the real Vladimir Zherkov is frozen in ice. And one of the big studios, and you know what, if I read it, I would laugh now, but it was Disney. Disney was behind it all because one of their movies had bombed. So they hatched this whole scheme to get this money. So they're going to blow up the ship with the frozen bad guy on it and abscond with the money. And obviously our hero thwarts, saves the day, and ends up not only being a real hero, but people didn't take him seriously. That's the starstruck. And it was a fun, playing in a big sandbox full of big toys with, all the trappings of Die Hard, but all the comedy of movie references and such. And I actually took that script to studios. I did pitch meetings. I met with producers, and I submitted the script. And I actually have one somewhere. I have my turn down letter. I think I posted it on the Facebook page. She wrote a note, and she said, she read it. She goes, "Jeff, this script's great. It's funny. It's got great action, but no one's ever going to make it because you slam too many famous people in it. You're really mean to these people." There's a moment where the FBI agents are on the phone with Vladimir, and he's like, "Look, if you don't tell me you're going to get the money, I'm going to kill a celebrity right now. Grab somebody." He goes, "Okay, I am going to kill Pauly Shore right now." And the agents are like, "We need more time." So they kill Pauly Shore, that kind of thing. Black humor. So I sent it out. I got rejection letters from everywhere saying, too expensive, too mean, too ridiculous. I was hoping they would see it as a writing sample and oh, we want to bring this kid in. But I never got that. I was 25 when I really made the gung-ho on that. And I really thought this, God, it's so funny. I thought it was a home run. I went to a writers' symposium. I watched Stephen D'Souza speak, a guy who actually wrote Die Hard. I took all his notes. I took them to heart. I crafted this airtight screenplay that I thought at the time. And I thought, I'm going to be a published, produced screenwriter in like 3 months. It never happened, folks. So I set about writing a whole bunch of screenplays. One of every genre, practically, so that if I ever got a meeting with somebody and they said, no, what else you got? I could go, what are you looking for? Because I got in my head, I got one of every genre, and I can pitch it like nobody's business. So we're going to end it there. We'll pick up on the next episode where I tell you which big budget Hollywood film Starstruck actually became, because my script made the rounds, and it actually became a movie that I didn't receive any credit or money for. I'm not sending aspersions towards the writer of that movie. I'm just saying there are a lot of similarities between Starstruck and another movie, and I will talk about that in the next episode. I'll tell you about a few more screenplays that I wrote, and then I'll really get into the meat of things and talk to you about what it's like to write a novel, edit it, and see it all the way to publication, because it's a fascinating story, and we'll get to it the next episode. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all my Patreon pledgers who have supported the show. You have no idea what that means to me. You can support the show on Patreon. You can pick a movie for me to review, just like Michael Bondi and Hindle do every month. Guys, let me know what you want. You're overdue for a review, and I want to keep up on that. Thank you so much for the GoFundMe page. We made it to episode 1 of Berg. I just turned in the script for Squeeze Those Lemons, the animated version. That should be something to see, man. I cannot wait to reveal that. But thanks for tuning in. Give us a review on iTunes. Like us on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter at The Sixth Key, TheSixthKey. If you're in town in Orange County, come see me at Knott's Berry Farm. I'm walking around every day in this amazing show that some amazing people put together called Ghost Town Alive, and I did a lot of writing on it. So if you want to see my writing, it's available in actual letter form in the town of Calico at Knott's Berry Farm. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. So that's a really fun thing that's going to run through Labor Day. And we're gearing up for Halloween Haunt, not Scary Farm. We're going to be at Midsummer Scream in Long Beach. And just announced we're also going to be at Scare LA, so we'll be at both. So you don't have to pick if you want to see the Knott's Berry Farm thing. And I don't really talk about work on this show, but it's pretty cool that we're going to be at both those conventions. So hopefully I'll be there as a representative of Knott's, hopefully. I'd also like to be there as a representative of 91 Reasons, so you never know how the chips will fall. I will keep you posted. Until we return to the writer's studio, I'm Jeff Tucker, and this is 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?